Hi, welcome to my channel. In this video I'll show you how to transform an old piece of furniture with a beautiful color technique and also how to prevent the paint from chipping away without the need of sanding it. Well, now that has been said, let's get started. This is the piece that I selected. As some of you may know, my house is baroque themed and this piece fits it perfectly. I transformed it for my living room makeover. I'll link the reveal video down below in case you want to watch it afterwards. The first step is to prep the piece to paint it. First, I extracted all the hardware. If your piece has a damaged edge like mine, I do recommend you manually sanding just that bad spot for an even look. After, I mix water and some dish soap to clean the surface. If your piece has a deep indentation in its design like mine, I suggest you use a Q-tip to remove the dust from the tighter areas. Once the piece is all set, we can move on to the next step, which is to paint it. Now this spray paint color is one that I use in many of my projects. I'll link it below in case you're interested. I begin by spray painting the surface. I want to let this footage run in real time rather than editing it like I usually do, because I want you to have a feel of my pace when spray painting. As you can see, I do a very gentle stroke, and the secret when spray painting is to always keep your hand moving. If you stay even a second longer in the same area, you might overspray it, making the paint become runny and creating an uneven look. I also sprayed the top part, but I used paper and tape to conceal the glass before doing so. Once everything was painted, I let it dry overnight. I highly recommend you letting the paint curate overnight before moving on to truly seal the paint in its place. Now here comes the fun part. I wanted the trimming and ornaments of the furniture to have contrasting colors. I'll show you my technique on how to make it look vintage and legitimate. First, spray paint the ornament with black. You want the black to really get inside the crevices of the design. After, gently spray silver on top. The goal is to cover the design without getting into the crevices. This will make the detail really pop. After using black, very gently spray it where you want there to be a shadow. For me, it was the center of the ornament. Next, using the same champagne color from before, spray it around to clean the edges of the design. One thing worth mentioning is that you don't want to let the paints dry in between these coats, because when they are wet, they blend with each other, making the final color look seamlessly. Here's the before and after. This technique really creates dimension and movement to the piece, and it also makes it look more legitimate rather than a piece that was just spray painted. I did the same to the crevices of the lower part, first adding black, then silver, and then adding extra touches of black to the places I wanted to emphasize the shadows. I also did this to the upper trimming. Now, when I did the ornament first in the beginning, it's because the furniture was a blank canvas and I really wanted you to be able to see this technique. But in reality, I do recommend you doing the trimming before the ornament, or else you have to redo them. I did the same thing to the trimming. I added silver, then I added black, mostly focusing on the lower portion. While doing this step, it looks like you ruined everything. That's why I want to show you the real-time footage so you can really get and understand this technique and not panic when it looks this way. After, I very gently sprayed silver to diffuse the shadow. I also wanted the very thin trim on the bottom to be silver, so I painted it as well. My intention was to leave the black mostly sitting on the notch of the trimming where the natural shadows should be. After, I went ahead with the champagne color and cleaned up the edges. You always want to clean the edges with the color that you selected for the main body of your furniture. As I mentioned before, I did have to end up going back and retouching the ornament. If you want to avoid doing this, start with the trimming first. Once I added the necessary touches, here are the comparisons. The difference to me is night and day. I absolutely love this technique. It does waste more product, but the result speaks for themselves. Once dried, I removed the paper cover and using a sponge I cleaned the residue of the tape. Once the glass was cleaned, I moved on to the third step and I painted the inside of the cabinet. I used the same paint from the wall that I used on my living room makeover. I'll link the information down below in case you're interested. Once that was drying, I want to show you another amazing painting technique that I use for my side tables. So just like the shadow technique from before, you want to mix black, silver, and champagne to all the ornaments and trimmings of the furniture. But instead of spray painting the entire furniture, you want to use regular paint and paint the main body while not touching the contrasting trimming. If you by mistake spill some paint where it's not supposed to be, wipe it clean before it dries. I absolutely love this technique as well. It's definitely more time consuming, but you can really make the contrasting accents pop because you have a lot more control over the paint placement. For the more difficult areas, one technique I recommend is to take the wet paintbrush and just gently press it around the edges of the design, making the paint run and fill in the space. For a tighter area where you feel like you will mess up using a brush, I recommend using a Q-tip. For the larger areas of the furniture, first paint the edges with a small brush and then fill in the rest with a paint roller for a smoother finish. I really love the look of this technique as well. Next, you want to seal the paint if you don't want the paint from chipping off. When it comes to sealing, I always use oil-based polyurethane. There's also a water-based one, but I recommend oil because it's more durable. Now, the cons of using oil, however, is that you need 24 hours for it to dry first, and also it will leave a yellowish residue on your piece. I personally don't mind this. I actually like it because it makes the furniture look more vintage, especially if the ones that you're using it on is silver or champagne color. However, the lighter furniture like the side tables, it will be more noticeable, especially over time, so that's something you might want to consider. I personally don't mind. After I painted the handles using the same silver, black, and silver technique. The last tip I want to share is how to add fairy lights to any closed cabinet. First, I bought these ones. They are remote control operated. After, on the corner of the cabinet, you want to drill a small hole and feed the fairy lights to it. These fairy lights are perfect for this because they are really thin. Once it's all in, just distribute them around each level of the cabinet for a perfect whimsical touch. Finally, I added a couple of decor items. I'm planning on doing a video on how to style bookshelves in different ways and styles. Let me know if you would be interested on me making this video on the comments below. After adding the final touches, these are the final results. Really quick, don't forget to subscribe to my sister and my bunny's channel. I'll leave these links down below. Also visit my online boutique, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram to stay in touch. Well, now that has been said, once again, thank you so much for stopping by and watching this video. I wish you a very blessed day. May God bless you, and until next time.